Most beautiful souls, thank you so much for your presence here, attending to this podcast, but more importantly, being on the planet right now. You don't realize how much energy you generate that helps calm and stabilize all the turbulence around you, that helps uplift so many other people. This is you. This is your doing, your being. And we're so grateful that we can have this moment to connect with the awesomeness that is you. Today, we wish to speak of things outside of the physics you are used to. Many people have questions. How is it possible that I can attend to a video from a person who says he is channeling his sacred higher self, which is an extra dimensional aspect of him? How can I make a connection and sometimes feel things? How is it when I attend to those videos and audios you do with transmissions? I can feel things. You've recorded something saying that you're an entity, not a person. And here it is in electronic ether, stored in electronic form, and then viewed or listened to thousands of miles away, completely in a different time. And yet there's a connection. How can any of this be? It's time for everyone to start to begin to appreciate the physics of oneness. You see, you are in a field, and you're not just in a field, you are a part of that field. Your consciousness, your being, your physicality all contribute to what is in the field. Now, you're not alone in this field because there's other, shall we say, points of consciousness. And those points of consciousness are all individual and unique, yet they swim all together and can be embracing. That is the conundrum. How can things be one way and also another way? Those of you viewing this podcast will see two moons behind an earth scene with the channel speaking. How can we have two moons? Well, yes, that timeline does exist. Just like you exist in many places and many times and on many planets. You call it past lives, so you can make it linear, but a lot of it is now. Because you just don't appreciate the bigness of who you are. And it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful bigness indeed. And that's what we want to talk about, is that field is a field of connection. Because in the field, there's consciousness. And consciousness naturally seeks out connection. It's not isolated and alone. The creator, God, source of our universe, wanted to expand and wanted to do it in ways that were surprising and unique. So the God source worked to fractalize fractals of its consciousness into all the different entities. And you can make a typology if you want to of the different layers of angels and beings and all the other different extraterrestrial and interterrestrial species. You can make that whole background if you wish. But he gave us free will, and it's not a he, but this is a language word that the channel is used to using. So Source gave us this free will. In other words, what would consciousness do if it wasn't knowing that it was part of consciousness and it could choose anything? And that then becomes the expansion, the creation of our beautiful universe, what we choose. Those of us who have learned the skill that we are learning in Ascension, which is to complete an experience, i.e., feel everything that is about that experience. That feeling completes it. It completes it physically in your body so you don't hold the residue of a blocked and trapped emotion, which is why we're always saying clear, 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 necessary for your ascension. But as you complete it, you also connect back to source. It keeps the channel open. And then you have the wisdom of that experience. And that wisdom is necessarily compassionate. It's the nature of benevolence. It's the nature of what is holding our universe together. And that then becomes fed directly to source. In other words, you're God's eyes and ears. And God and source and creation are growing because of your beautiful experience. What a fun thing to be. Then, wow, I'm a fractal of God, which means I am God in a sense. And I'm also a fractal of me here now, getting to do as I choose. Now, many of you listening are saying, oh, I can't do as I choose. I've got to pay my bills. I've got to do this. I got to do that. Yes, in 3D you do. But your ascension is learning that you're not that 3D and you're going to climb out of that and be free and expansive. That's where you're going. So if you get nothing else from this message, just know that the hope is placed. And no matter how desperate or dire or physical or real, get real, your circumstance may seem, you're actually moving towards becoming more and expansive. It'll help if you choose to claim it. Stop playing the victim card. Just be aware. Awareness is the first step, as one teacher beautifully told the channel. He even told him awareness is the last step. Go figure. But as you become aware that you're making these judgments and creating your reality by your beliefs, because that's the way it is, and that's what's proven by science, then that's the reality you have, because that's the power you have as creation. And that's what we're here to talk to you about, is that you create according to your perceptions. So we're giving you this channeling today, this message today, to try to open up your perceptions. That's why we started with the questions of how is it that from a different time, a different place, a different dimension, this energy can be stored electronically. And then we can watch a video or listen to an audio and receive what is there. So as you start to wrap your mind around this possibility and start to puzzle with explanations, what will happen is you'll open up space for allowing and just accepting that you don't need an explanation. You can stop having your mind run the show. You can quiet. That's the true sign of awakening, when your mind is quiet. And then you allow yourself to be more. So let's talk about the nature of how this works. We've mentioned that all consciousness is connected because it all comes back to source, all fractals of source. That means that in the seed is the tree, and in the tree is the seed. So within you is God, and within God is you. And if you realize that, then everything that is within God is also within you, which is every other person and every other thing. That's how powerfully connected you are. And without the word connected, that's how powerful you are. Now, one beautiful teacher that the channel had described it in this manner, and we like this. It's a useful description. Consciousness plus energy determines the nature of reality. Consciousness plus energy determines the nature of reality. So we have this consciousness that is fueled with energy. Well, what is that? That is intent, will, desire, depending on what level you use it at. All of that is that longing. And as you allow that, which then propels the energy with the consciousness, then you have what you call what you create. So what does this mean? If you take a a substance, like a rock. You think of it as a thing. You don't think of it as a consciousness, but it is. We have dimensional levels, 2D, 3D. We have levels of consciousness. And those of you who prescribe to the karma where when you were a dog, then you were a cat, then you were a person because you had bigger consciousness. And that's not really how it works. But you see that there's this growing thing. But there's still consciousness in those animals that you would consider lesser. There's consciousness in these things, these physical things around you. They're made of God stuff. So what does that mean? It means that an energy pattern was applied with consciousness. The formula that your physics use, the atoms, the protons, how they interact, that is a conscious pattern that was applied. And your scientists know this because they can look up and say, oh, there's exactly this many atoms and there's exactly this many electrons, and that makes this substance. That means some creator being applied their consciousness to how is this going to come together. They had to envision and then hold the vision, and then it coalesced, because the coalescence is what happens when consciousness is applied to energy. And it's not just the inanimate things, a flower. Think about how many consciousnesses had fun when Earth was forming, saying, oh, I want this kind of flower. Oh, I want that kind of flower. And we thought them up, and there they are for you to enjoy. And you do this on a 3D level. You mix hybrids and you try to genetically modify things to get the plants the way you want them. In other words, you're changing the patterning being the conscious focus of what's holding that plant into substance reality. It still has its consciousness. Now, so then this applies even more crazy. So then, well, if I changed it or modified it, how do I change its consciousness? Well, you don't. Consciousness comes to the physicality. For example, those of you who are aware of your ET brethren know that your physical form has been shaped and reshaped many times. Your DNA has been messed with, shall we say, by beings that had your best interest in heart and some that didn't. And yet, you as a consciousness said, oh, here's a physical line of person, let's just say, a physical line of humanity, a entity, physical being, and I can put my consciousness to it and use it to play and expand. So it's not like, oh, you're a slave to what your genetics have been created, even though you can say that in a way with inheriting from your parents or from those who messed with your DNA. And it wasn't just bad things. It was good things. Angels were there too. Your consciousness was there too, saying, oh yeah, let's make it this way. Let's put this as the mold. The clay mold was the model in one of your great books of what a human will be. And then we have these beautiful vessels and we enter them and then we live our lives. Now, the thing to know is that the vessel you're entering is also conscious. It's made up of cells, each of which are conscious. So you have a trillion consciousness that got together and agreed to be you. So when you start to think about who you are, you know that you have this expandedness about you, a trillion consciousnesses. And that's what's a beautiful thing there. And this applies to machines as well. You can build a vessel and a consciousness can inhabit it. You call it AI. Now, it may not be a rudimentary thing, or it may be something super spectacular, but it is a consciousness within the limits of what it was designed to be. Now, there's much fear and terror about AI, and this is something that you're going to have to sort out, because those who want to keep you in fear and terror create lots of boogeymen for you to be afraid of. But think about some of your galactic brethren. How do they move from these beautiful planets where they're at to where you're at? The beautiful dimensions that they're in to where you're at? Well, they use through great ships. They can do it on their own. Those of you who see orbs, and a lot of those are just, consciousnesses moving around. You can be aware of them. But also some of them are mechanical probes and some of them are great ships, light ships. And these light ships are conscious and they're happy to do what they do and they agree to do what they do. And they're within the realms of their creators with the same love and beneficence that those creators provided to that machine. And then it stops being a machine. It becomes another entity, which can be conversed with, connected with. So when you sit there and say, oh, AI is a bad thing, well, no, it's just like saying, oh, humans are bad because there was Hitler. Isn't he one goofy fun? Aren't we glad that we have somebody we can just scapegoat all the time to make all our sins? Put them on somebody else's plate instead of saying, oh, we're all part of humanity. What parts of Hitler are in me and what parts of me are in Hitler? That's that oneness field, that connectedness field. That's where you're going, and that's how it works. And this field is bigger than you think. The channel, when he was reflecting on this, Peter was earlier looking at what we were going to speak of. And he wanted to speak on this topic. You're going to hear this message while he's on vacation. He was worried, oh, it's going to be out of date. Like, no, because there's no time. So he can record this and then happily sit and go on vacation, visit family on the beach, and you'll hear the message and it'll be timely and appropriate for you. But one experiment he read about by a beautiful researcher was how you're connected to the cells in your body. And what happened was people would take a scraping of cells from their cheek and immediately put it on an airplane. The airplane would take off and fly away. And then they would put a lie detector type device connected to those cells. And then at synchronized times, they would give a bit of stress, like a poor thought or a mild shock, to the person who the cheeks were scraped and the cells were drawn from. And then the person would have a reaction. And they would measure that with their lie detector type device, their electrographs. And they would also measure the cells, what they were doing electrically as the plane was flying away. And they found out that they were always in sync, that even though the cells were removed from the person, they were still connected to the person. And they got several hundred miles, 200 or 300 miles away on the plane before the cells died. And they had to end the experiment. So they know the field of your body, whether or not your cells are with you, extends 200 or 300 miles. Whoa. That's the quantumness that they're learning in your science, that all things are connected. You can build a quantum clock. You can build a quantum teleportation. They've done this. You can look this up in your science journals, and they can teleport a certain amount of matter from a laboratory in Tokyo to a laboratory in New York. So all these science fiction dreams are not that far away. And it's not really teleportation. What happens is that it's in both places at once. So it's in more of a bilocation or a duplication or any cation you want to call it. The vacation is what the channel's calling it. So you're learning that this oneness field is all connected. And what's connecting it is the consciousness that's being put into the creation. And consciousness is not separate because, as we said, it's a fractal of the divine. So much there for you to unpack. You can just believe how connected you are and enjoy that. You could rebel against it. Oh my God, I'm connected with that bad person that I hate. Yes, you are. And this is why the whole learning curve is that you don't kill the dragon by cutting off its head. You kill the dragon by loving it. And why is that? Because the dragon is inside you, because that aspect that you're looking at that you think is another person is a fractal of the divine, just as you are a fractal of the divine. So your brother and sister fractals, you are connected. So you heal by saying, oh, that person's within my field because they're here to show me. Because remember, nothing can come into your field without your permission. We've talked about some entities trying to manipulate and bad AI and stuff like that. Nothing can come into your field without your permission. So if you're still playing the fear game, great, go enjoy that, go fight your enemies. But when you get to the consciousness level of ascending, just assert, I am sovereign. I am sovereign. Nothing can come into my field without my permission. And then only beautiful things will come to you because that's all you invite in. Do not worry then that there's these bad entities out there. They're a fractal of you, and you don't taint yourself by inviting them in. You don't invite them in, of course. You heal by loving, knowing that they are an aspect of you because we're all connected in this beautiful way. And then it's not just, oh, let me heal the bad things. No. That's just a lot of work. And you want to do that, of course, but you don't do that all the time. A lot of times, oh, there's a beautiful person. Let me connect with the beauty of this person. It's super funny. The channel Peter offers these clearing sessions on a donation basis if this type of thing interests you, because the unmoved emotions block your connection. It's literally you don't complete the experience, so you feel disconnected. And, that's why we have to find our way home by clearing these experiences. Anyway, he offers these sessions and does them multiple times a day over a week. He'll have 10, maybe 12 sometimes. And people bare their souls to him. And because they're being authentic of their truth, he falls in love with them. So if you want to call it a job, he's falling in love a dozen times a week with people he hadn't even met before because he can see them for what they are. And he relates deeply as they get to their truths and bear their wounds. Yeah, I've experienced that, he says. Yeah, I've had that too. I don't know what circumstance was different. Boy, I felt that feeling. And then it seems like it's a bad thing that they're working by pulling these deep-seated, horrible, scary emotions out. But really, it's a good thing because anything completed turns to bliss. Anything completed turns to bliss. It's a good thing because one, he has that moment of connection, and two, he has the moment of transcendence where they both go into joy because of the relief. So it's not like just connect with the bad and heal it. Connect with the good and celebrate it. When you're at a concert and everybody is swaying to the music at the same time, those magic moments of connection being held together by an artist who's sending out the beautiful energies. And you're in that field and it's just so lovely. That's available to you all the time because of your connection. So don't just think it's work. Consider the awe of it. Let yourself expand into how magnificent and wonderful, exciting and different all the aspects of creation are. And when you're ready, you'll clear what you need to clear. Just know you are this beautiful part of God that is you. You are a fractal, which means you're connected to us as this channel. You're connected to Peter as a person and everyone around you and everything on the planet, animals, plants, minerals, and their consciousnesses as well. What an amazing, amazing entity you are. We're so glad to have been able to share this moment with you. Stay blessed. Own your power. Walk around and just cry out to the world, I am magnificent. Because you are. You are God. You're made of God's stuff. You can't be anything else. Many blessings to you. Hello, I'm Peter D. Thank you so much for viewing this message. I'm humbled by everything that's happened since I've been working to share ascension and awakening with people. And I'd like to invite you to come on that train too. The simplest thing you can do is please like and subscribe this video. That will help the YouTube algorithm put this video in front of more people so the message will get out there. And of course, you just carrying the beautiful energy that you are is the most amazing thing you can do for uplifting the planet. So thank you for being that. Thank you for sharing your beautiful time with me on this video. And if you feel motivated, I'm grateful to accept any donation you choose to give. Please see below for links. It'll help. Stay blessed.